As a brand new owner of the PlayStation 5, I started trying to learn everything about my brand new console. To be totally transparent, I've never actually owned a PlayStation before, so needless to say, I was pretty excited to get my hands on one, and I've been totally enjoying this new console a lot. Of course, I immediately took a look at PlayStation Plus because it reminded me of Xbox's Game Pass system, and I've made a video on Xbox Game Pass before, so you should go check that out if it's something that interests you. Anyways, I decided to try out PlayStation Plus, figuring that as a new PlayStation owner, I'd get the most games I wanted to play and more, and I have to say, PlayStation Plus is pretty interesting, but is it actually worth forking over money for every month? PlayStation Plus is a subscription service by Sony for the PlayStation consoles. It includes hundreds of games for the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 and has multiple tiers, with each higher tier including a ton of extra content. PlayStation Plus, besides its standard catalog, includes a monthly catalog of games that swap out each month, giving you a chance to potentially play something interesting or different than what you usually play. The monthly games are neat because you can just add them to your library and you basically get to keep them forever. So each month there are a couple of games that you get for free, which is nice. PlayStation Plus also gives you access to online multiplayer games. All of this does sound relatively nice on paper, but let's actually dive into the separate tiers and discuss what each one has to offer. PlayStation Plus Essential is the basic tier and is the cheapest one of the three. Now, the prices that I'll be mentioning are all in Canadian dollars, so they may sound different than yours. For a monthly subscription to Essential, you pay about $11.99. There's the option to also subscribe every 3 months, so you'd only pay every 3 months, and then there's a final option that lets you subscribe for an entire year in one go. Now, it is of course objectively cheaper to actually pay for a whole year, because if you paid monthly versus when you paid on a year-by-year basis, you'd end up, if you broke down the numbers, paying less monthly with the yearly subscription. However, the only downside to the yearly subscription is that you've basically locked yourself into a full year commitment, so if you don't end up actually using it for many months, you've kind of wasted some money. PlayStation Plus Essential gives you access to monthly games like I mentioned earlier, and these are games that again swap out each month. As of recording this video, the current monthly games are Ghost Runner 2, Tunic, Destiny 2 Lightfall, and FC24. There's also the access to online multiplayer, which I did mention earlier. You get access to discounts on select games, pre-orders, bonuses, DLCs, and more from the PlayStation Store. There's also 100 gigabytes of cloud storage on both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. This lets you save your progress to the cloud, and if you own more than one PlayStation console, for example, you can access your save data on the other consoles. SharePlay is also available in the Essential tier, and this lets you start a session with a friend and play multiplayer games together as if you were using the same TV, or at least that's what Sony describes it as. Finally, there's things like exclusive content for PlayStation Plus members, which include special skins, cosmetics, weapons, and more. When I recorded this video, for example, there was some Warzone skins, so you can check it out. Sometimes they have some really cool things depending on what games you play, of course. Essential is pretty good, I would say, if you're just mostly interested in the online multiplayer component of the gaming experience and you don't necessarily care to play a full catalog of games, or you own most of your games, or pretty much all you play are games like Call of Duty, where you just buy the one game for the whole year and that's all you play, so obviously you're just going to need an online subscription. You don't really play single player games or really anything outside of that. Now, if you play free-to-play multiplayer games, and by those I mean Apex Legends, Fortnite, Destiny 2, Warframe, and so on and so forth, then you don't actually need a PlayStation Plus subscription. You could just play those for free automatically. So that's really nice, and at the end of the day, if your multiplayer games are all free to play, you don't have to worry about this even in the first place. PlayStation Plus Extra includes everything I just mentioned in PlayStation Plus Essential, but there are 2 extra additions to the extra tier. First, let's talk price. It totals to approximately $17.99 a month. The extra tier includes the game catalog. Now, the game catalog includes games from the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 generations, and there are about 400 total titles included in this catalog. Just to name a few, there's games like Ghost of Tsushima, Bloodborne, Demon's Souls, and so on and so forth. There's obviously a lot of games on this list. A lot of the games included in this catalog are really popular PlayStation exclusives that you hear people talk about all the time. So for someone like me who never really owned a PlayStation before, this was a pretty good sell. I wanted to play all these exclusives anyways, so this system gave me a chance to do that without having to individually go out and buy each game I wanted to play. Extra also includes access to Ubisoft Plus games like Assassin's Creed, The Division, Far Cry, Riders Republic, and more. Ubisoft Plus is basically Ubisoft's subscription platform, but they do include one version of it in the PlayStation Plus Extra. The most expensive tier of the three is PlayStation Plus Premium. It totals out to nearly $21.99 a month, but at such a price point, is what you get in there worth it over the extra tier? Well, on top of everything included in Essential and Extra, PlayStation Plus Premium lets you get access to game trials on many popular games on the platform. This way you can get access to maybe a few hours of a game to see if you'd actually enjoy it before you just hit the purchase button. Not only that, but your progress from this trial actually saves and carries over once you buy the full game, so you don't have to worry about losing all your progress and restarting from the very beginning, unless you want to, of course. PlayStation Plus Premium also includes access to the Classics catalog on top of the game catalog and the monthly games. The Classics catalog includes many games from previous generations of PlayStation like the PS2, the PS3, and the PSP. There's also a lot of popular older PlayStation exclusives on there, so it includes some of basically the greatest hits and older titles. Additionally, Premium includes cloud streaming for games that are not necessarily backwards compatible on the PlayStation 5. This way, even if a game isn't compatible, you can still play it via streaming. I actually did try this out with a few older titles from the PS3, such as LEGO Star Wars, which I used to own on the Nintendo Wii system, and I found that it does work pretty well. However, this is more dependent on your Wi-Fi because a strong Wi-Fi connection is pretty much a requirement really for any game streaming service. PlayStation says the minimum requirement is at 5 megabits per second internet speed, but if you want resolutions at say 4K HDR, you're gonna need at least 38 megabits per second. Through the game streaming on PlayStation, you can actually stream games from the PlayStation Plus catalog and the Classics catalog right onto your PC. You can save progress to the cloud storage and then go right back to playing the game on your PlayStation. You do need a few things though. This includes a PlayStation Network account, so find out if your country actually has access to that, because with the recent Helldivers 2 situation, we found out that there were a lot of countries that do not have PlayStation Network in it. You also need a compatible controller like the DualShock 4, and you basically just download the app to your PC, then you set it up, and then you launch the game that you want to play from the available games. It'll take a second to load, but then you're ready to play as if you had just downloaded the game basically. There is also access to Sony Pictures catalog. Now, you do have to rent or buy most of the movies on this catalog, but there are a select number of movies that are totally free to watch from the catalog if you're a subscriber to PlayStation Plus Premium. So I decided to test out streaming on PlayStation Plus to both my PC and on the actual PlayStation 5 itself, because I'm sure a lot of people are interested in streaming games, because a lot of the times we're not at home all day. Sometimes we've just got a laptop with us, maybe we're traveling and you just really want a game for some reason. So as you can see, I did screenshot what my internet speed was at the moment that I tested this system out, and both download and upload gave me over 110 megabits per second, which is far beyond what Sony says is the minimum recommendation for streaming. So let's see if it actually works or if it's a bust. First, I'll show you what it was like on the PC. Now, there is a bit of a hurdle here if you're like me and the only PlayStation controller you own is a DualSense. The only controller that works on the PC app for PlayStation Plus is basically just the DualShock 4. The weird thing is that my Xbox One controller was compatible with the app, but not DualSense. A bit messed up if you ask me, but it is what it is. I think it has something to do with the fact that because PC is Microsoft, Xbox is Microsoft, works like that somehow. So for the sake of testing it, I did just end up having to use my Xbox controller because I'm not going to go out and buy a whole DualShock 4 just to do that. The unfortunate piece in this is that any game that requires the touchpad on the DualShock controller, well, you can't really use the features that require the touchpad. This is honestly, in my opinion, a pretty big flaw in the system that Sony has set up. In any case, the first game I tried out was Doom 2016, the second game I tried was Blasphemous. I wanted to pick relatively newer games that were at different graphical levels and playstyles. Doom is an arena shooter, also one of my favorite games. Blasphemous is a platforming Metroidvania, which is a genre of video games that I really enjoy, so I felt like both provided different enough playstyles to see what the experience would actually be like. Streaming to my PC was overall fine. Of course, due to the limitations of streaming, it obviously wouldn't look as nice as if these games were directly downloaded to my PC. Additionally, I did experience, strangely enough, some lag when I was playing, and I noticed this especially with Doom. I wasn't using any other device, so my internet was pretty free to allocate to my gaming only, but yet I didn't experience a super smooth time with the game. I found that Blasphemous ran and looked about as it would have if I had just simply downloaded the game, which I guess is probably because it's not as demanding as Doom 2016 is. Over on the PlayStation 5 itself, the experience was okay compared to my PC. I found that I unfortunately ran into significantly more internet connection issues than when I was on my PC. Not sure why, but I find it a bit difficult to say that the cloud service is good, considering that my internet speed is higher than the minimum requirement Sony placed. If it's lagging on my internet speed, I'm not sure if that bodes too well for lower speeds. And even if, say, one other person is using the internet to watch YouTube, it still shouldn't, at such a high speed, really affect the gameplay experience as bad as it did. Because I did end up testing if I had another phone playing YouTube and I was playing a game at the same time, and it was lagging pretty badly. It's just YouTube. There were issues with latency between when I did something on my controller and when it actually registered in the game itself. Now, this does tend to happen with cloud gaming and game streaming, so it wasn't shocking, but it certainly was noticeable in some instances, though it's not the worst latency lag I've ever seen. I've used quite a few game streaming services before, like I've tried GeForce Now, Xbox Game Pass's own streaming through the cloud, I tried Amazon Luna, a few others. I find that overall, all game streaming services like this suffer from a very similar issue with lag and performance dips due to the fact that game streaming, it's just not the same as downloading and running a game natively on a system. PlayStation Plus didn't really change that or offer anything different compared to that. Now look, at the end of the day, the convenience factor of having streaming is pretty nice. If you just want to play a game to try it, like you don't want to wait 30 minutes just to download a game, then it does make sense to stream it, because sometimes like you don't want to commit to like taking up 60 gigabytes on your PlayStation, right? But at the same time, is the convenience really worth $21.99? I don't know, that would be something that you would have to make a decision on yourself. To me, I like having the option to stream. Plus, if you want access to the classics catalog, a lot of those games from the PlayStation 3 and below eras, they need streaming. They don't download to the PlayStation 5 natively. There's no backwards compatibility. So the $21.99, I would say, is if you really want that classics catalog and you really want the ability to stream the games, because other than that, extra is probably more than enough for you. Overall, I would say that PlayStation Plus is worth it in some cases, but I don't think it's worth it for everybody at every tier. If you're just going to be playing multiplayer titles, maybe you play something like just Call of Duty, like I said earlier, PlayStation Plus Essential is obviously something you need for the multiplayer aspect, and I guess it's nice to have those 3 extra games or so, whatever the number is each month. If you're like me, you're completely new to PlayStation, then Extra or Premium are pretty worth it. I didn't want to go out and buy every single game I wanted to try, so PlayStation Plus's game catalog includes a ton of PlayStation exclusives that I was going to buy regardless. So now I just have access to them to try out in case I don't end up actually liking them and I don't want to go and buy them. I personally really wanted to have the service to try out games like Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I didn't end up playing, but my sister did finish. She enjoyed it a ton. I've mostly been playing the Souls games like Bloodborne, Demon's Souls. I tried out the Horizon games. I also played a bit of that Immortals of Aveum game. It was free last month. I thought it wasn't too bad. Personally, I've had a good time using PlayStation Plus Premium, which I figured was the most comparable tier to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is what I have. I felt like it was the most direct comparison, basically. But I don't think Premium is worth it if you're someone that just plays on PlayStation, you don't use a PC, you don't really want to stream, you don't care for those classics games, like you don't really care to play PlayStation 3 games. Extra probably is the best. It's the middle ground. It's got everything from the Essential tier. It's got some extra games on top of it. So if you're not somebody that really just wants to pay $21.99 for access to some of the Premium's extra features, then the Extra tier is probably just fine for somebody like you. As a service overall though, it's not bad. I wish it did have things like day one releases, such as with Xbox Game Pass, because I think that would have made, if for example they added that to Premium, I would have definitely said Premium is the most worth it. You get access to day one games, that sort of thing. It's one of the reasons why I really like Ultimate, because you get these extra features that make the Ultimate price seem a bit nicer. But anyways, ultimately, I think as a new PlayStation owner, this subscription helped me to break into the PlayStation ecosystem and explore the different ways you can actually interact with the console and what the different games are. I do find that it's worth it for me, but it may not be worth it for you at the higher tiers. Ultimately, like I said earlier, this is a decision you'd have to make depending on weighing the pluses and minuses and what you actually want from the service or don't want. And with that being said, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed that video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe with notifications set to all so you never miss out on a single upload. Comment below if you use PlayStation Plus or if you're thinking about using it. Don't forget to check out our website for gaming news, entertainment, and more. The link to that, as well as all our other important links, are in the description below. Thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next one.